Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Monday, guys. Happy Monday. I hope you guys enjoyed your weekend. So, guys, I want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as season. I got a word for you. Tap in. So, guys, I got an email actually from one of my very, 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 very great friends. We've known each other for a very long time. I just love her immensely. So she messaged me last night, and she wanted me to give her some advice on the situation she's dealing with in her marriage. Now, hear me and hear me carefully, guys. I always tell you guys, 100% of the time, go to your source for your revelation. God will use people to be your confirmation at times, but always go to your source because you will get this very answer that you're looking for. So I asked her if she wanted me to respond to her through email or through text or make a recording. And she said she wanted me to make a recording because someone else may be going through the same issue. And being the person with the huge heart that she is, then I decided to join her and decide to make this recording. All right, so I'm going to read this to you. Typically, I summarize my emails, but it's so detailed and my spirit was so driven to it that tells me that someone else could be going through the same exact situation. So I'm going to read it to you guys and give you my opinion slash my opinion slash my opinion. All right. Hello, Kizzy. I'm sorry, I have to pull this email up, so please excuse me as I ramble through my phone. All right. Hello, Kizzy. Just want you to know you touch my heart in so many ways. Thank you for being you and following God's plan. So I've been struggling with something. I've been married for 12 years and I've been praying and crying and crying and praying. But then I asked God what to do when you are tired of praying for the same thing and it seemed like nothing is getting any better. What do you do when you are tired of being the peacemaker? I'm writing down some notes, guys. I'm sorry. Something else just hit me just now as I'm reading. What do you do when you are tired of crying and screaming in silence? What do you do when your spouse talks about not wanting to be here anymore at times? I am only human, but I'm tired. Do you hold on or do you keep praying? My husband suffers from PTSD, but does not want to go and get any help. He feels as if though no stranger needs to know his personal business, but I suggest to help our marriage, counseling would probably be beneficial. His answer was no. All exclamation mark, no. So where do I fit in all of this? I'm mentally exhausted. All right. So first thing first, recording screen. All right, so first thing first, I want to say this right here. Sis, you already know how much I love you. I don't even have to even tell you that. And one thing that I tell you on a regular basis is that I wish I had your gift of patience. I tell you that all the time. Your patience is one like I've never, ever, 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 ever experienced before. And I tell you this, and I mean this. You admire my strength in a lot of areas, and I'm telling you, I admire your patience. That's one thing that I really, really wish I had more of, and God is slowly but surely getting me to that point. All right, so next, I want to say this here. When it comes down to marriage, that is a topic that I typically kind of stay away from because, there's a lot of different things that come into play that is not parallel to when you're just into a relationship. So I'm very, very mindful. So I made sure before I made this recording, I wanted to tap in spiritually so I can be sure that I am truly being a vessel. I ask God to literally give me these words through discernment and wisdom before I open my mouth. Because again, marriage is completely different than just shacking up with someone or being in a relationship or a baby daddy, baby mama, etc. But I will say this before I start. In my opinion, I do not believe that, quote unquote, what we were taught, right? Many of us were conditioned to believe that you are going to hell if you get a divorce. That is not my belief. To those of you who believe that, I promise you, I respect your belief. I respect your opinion. That is just not my belief. Partially because, again, many times we end up marrying the wrong people. Like, we marry people at, sometimes extremely young age before we even develop a relationship with God. So we're not even tapping to our kingdom partners to begin with. But I don't know if you're with someone and you don't believe that they're your kingdom partner, then maybe pray and ask God, because God will change people. I promise you, God will change people. Like, I have, in my career, like, he changed some people who were just literally just off the rails. And now these people are loving God more than ever. So, all right. Now, I jotted something down just now because I didn't catch it last night when I read your email. And you were saying that you asked him about counseling. And he stated that he don't want any strangers in his business. Let me tell you, it is so sad in our community that we were conditioned to sweep things under the rug. We heard that since we were children. Whatever goes on in my house, and I'm not saying my household, but I'm speaking about just our community. It's like, whatever goes on in my household stays in my household. You bet not, So we were conditioned to believe that anything that we experience or anything that we're feeling, it doesn't leave outside of our household. And now we're walking around with all these mental disorders, anxiety, depression, all these things, PTSD, because we can't even express ourselves to even professional at times because we are so conditioned to think that we're weak or we're whatever, So therapy is so important. Again, therapy is also very expensive. So I always tell people, first and foremost, go to God, because what other therapists, is better than God. But of course, God made counselors and psychiatrists and psychologists, things like that. So we have to take advantage of these things. Many times you may be on a job that even will cover that, but because we're conditioned not to want to even go, we don't even research that it could be covered, even if you can't afford it. Because again, it is very expensive. I think the least I've even encountered was maybe $200 a pop, $200 per session. And that's with someone with no insurance. I'm not even sure how much it would be for someone who may have insurance, etc. But if you can't afford it, YouTube is your best friend. But this is for people who want it. So when you're dealing with someone who is adamant about not getting people in their personal business, you can take you can take a horse to the fountain and you can't make them drink. Something like you can lead a horse to something, but you can't make them drink. Something like that. One of you guys help me out. So you can want something for someone. And my God, I don't have regrets in my life. I truly don't. But one thing that I wish I had done different was to learn early enough to stop watering dead grass. There are people who we are literally ordained to touch, people who will receive our messages properly, and sometimes even including your spouse. But then it becomes a time when you have to understand that your cries are going on deaf ears. So then that is when you tap in spiritually to ask God how to pray for a person. Because see, again, and this is something I'm learning recently, sometimes we have to understand we're warring in the spirit against the wrong thing. It's like we're praying for a person. We're praying for a person to change. We're praying for a person to this. But sometimes it's about asking God how to pray for that person. So rather than saying, for example, God, just make him change, help her to change. Sometimes it needs to be, God, how can I pray for him so he can understand that getting therapy is a great thing? How can I pray to pray against his PTSD? Show me what he's feeling. Let me feel it so I can know the experience. That way I can then war in the spirit against it. I can have more understanding, sympathy, and empathy because I feel it. I told you guys in the recording, I think last week, I'm not someone who deals with depression, but I prayed that prayer. I didn't know what I was praying, but I wanted to understand what a friend of mine was going through. I couldn't understand depression. So I would just pray for God just to get her out the bed. I was so annoyed because I'm just like, get up. Get up. Why are you letting someone have this kind of control over your life? Stop crying. I've laid here and cried with you for 2 days. Get up. Let's go. And so I was like, God, please help me understand. So then when I prayed that prayer, he then allowed me to tap into it, to feel exactly what she was going through. And when I felt it, oh my God, it was heavy. And so, Lord, forgive me for saying, oh my God, I'm trying to really get better with that. So because I was able to feel it, then I knew how to war against it. I knew now the right words to say. Because if you don't mind you, you're frustrated with them, but they're also frustrated with you because you don't understand them. Regardless if they're telling you and verbalizing what they're going through, they're frustrated that, quote unquote, I don't believe a stranger or no one can understand what I'm feeling. And truth of the matter is, you don't. If you've never experienced PTSD, if you've never experienced any type of other disorder that your spouse or someone could be going through, then they really feel like there's no way you can understand. And it's not. You have 3 babies. So think about the times you were in the labor delivery room and he's in there telling you, oh, I know how you feel. I know how you feel. How do he know how you feel? But put us behind in some contractions, and then I bet you he'll change his words and know how to, if he have to pray for you, how to pray for you. So that's one thing. First thing, ask God on how to pray for him. Ask God to allow you to feel in the spirit what he's feeling. Then you can war differently. But it's hard to war when you're frustrated because they just won't change. Ask God to also give you more grace with patience. And my God, I don't know anybody else, honestly, in my personal life who have more patience than you. So when I read your email and you said several times, I'm tired. If you say you're tired, you are tired. Because we've had these conversations before, and I've never heard the word tired came out of your mouth. If anything, you were just more, grace and grace and grace and grace and grace and grace. But I've never even knew you were this tired. And again, this goes to show on how people can sit here and idolize someone's marriage, because just looking from the outside in, I knew about certain things, but just from the average person looking from the outside in, you have the perfect marriage. You have the perfect marriage. When you see these children, when you see you guys in these pictures, the affection, the this and that, people would sit here and they have, I know that personally, they have idolized your marriage and don't even realize you're going through hell behind closed doors. This is why I tell people, stop idolizing people's lives because of what you see. Because anybody who have had longevity in a marriage or in a career or this or in that, they've been through hell. So there is no perfect life. It was all a lie from society. It was all a lie. Okay, next thing. With so many mental disorders, okay, men are, respectfully, some men have such a hard time, again, expressing what it is that they're really going through. Now, myself, who have anxiety flare-ups, right? I don't deal with depression. I don't deal with PTSD, etc. But I do have anxiety. I do suffer with anxiety at times. Not so much panic attacks where it kind of like paralyzes you and your kind is very like obvious and you're just, panting and not panting. Do people pant? Or only dogs? Oh my God. But in order for me, I think it's so important. If you're a person and you deal with any type of disorders, you have to speak to the people around you so they can understand what you're going through. And again, I'm like you said, he doesn't really speak about it, but I'm just saying for those of you who are not, you have to explain to the person what it is you're experiencing, because if they don't go through it, they don't know what it is. So for example, with me, when I'm having an anxiety attack, it could be something that's really pressing, like a certain deadline, or I may have to speak to a large crowd, or there's just a lot going on in a particular day. Then there's certain things that I do, like I'm just kind of on edge. I'm I might be snappy. I might be this. I might be all over the place. And this is not like an everyday thing. But the people around me, I have to explain to them why this happens. That way they won't take it so personal. They will understand, like, okay, when this is happening, she got a lot going on, right? She got a lot going on. So let me just give her space for a minute. You know, an hour later, she'll be back to normal. So you have to explain this to people so they can understand. Because if they don't understand, that's where that frustration grows. So let's just say I don't explain that to my employees, or I don't explain that to the man in my life, or like my family or my friends. If I don't explain that, they will take all that stuff personal. Okay, so with PTSD, and he's a gunshot victim, so it can be something as simple as him watching TV, right? Y'all sharing this great night, family night, watching a movie, and a freaking sound just bow ya, like a gunshot sound, or even a gunshot in the movie. PTSD is real. So now he flies up off of the handle because, I mean, it's fight or flight, and now he's not going to be himself for probably the rest of the night. So now anything you say to him, he's flying off of the handle. He's snapping on the kids, all that stuff. And it has nothing to do with you or the babies. Because if you think about it, he was just fine before the movie. Everything was y'all had popcorn and wine and everything, you know. But all of a sudden, that this gunshot happened on the TV, now he's a quote-unquote crazy man. Well, you didn't call him a crazy man, but he's a crazy man. It's because he got triggered. So I will encourage you and anyone else, if you're dealing with someone who suffers from PTSD, depression, anxiety, OCD, whatever disorder, do your own research. Alcoholism, do your own research. You know, I helped someone with that about a year ago. They had a husband who was just, I mean, he was a functional alcoholic, like he still went to work and things like that, but he would drink all the time. And she just stop. I don't understand it. It makes no sense. Just stop. If the doctor said that you're dealing with, just stop. It doesn't make any sense. And I said to her, have you researched alcoholism? Do you know how many people die by just stopping once your body is chemically dependent on it? And she's like, no. But still, the doctor just stop. Okay, well, do some research on it. Matter of fact, I'm going to send you some links. And when you read through these links, give me a call. Because it's just not as easy as just stopping. Think about any of your addiction. It may be food, it may be sweets, it may be cigarettes, it may be alcohol, it may be weed, it may be this, that. Is it just easy for you just to stop? Of course, it starts with a mind, a determined mind. Number one, prayer and things of that nature. But it's important to do your own research, because that way if the person can't express to you really, because sometimes people can't even express what it is. I couldn't really express what my anxiety was years ago. I just knew that I would just have this moment of just chaos, right? But if they can't express it to you what really it is, do your own research. That will help you understand. Now, it's not saying it's not going to help with your frustration of dealing with it, but it will help you to understand that it has nothing to do with you personally. Because as women, especially, we take everything personal. So when he's snapping at you, you feel like it's about you, right? If he says something to you, you feel like it's about you, not even realizing he's having a moment and it's about something he's going through. So make sure you do your own research on that. Now, next thing. Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm a firm believer in this. This is Kizzy. This is not about your marriage or you guys' marriage. This is about Kizzy. I'm a firm believer in this. Life is short. I believe that it takes fight and determination for things that are worthy in life. But now there's a difference between fighting and struggling. Hope you guys catch that. Tap in. There's a difference between fighting for something and struggling for something. A fight means, yes, you sacrifice, but to what level, right? How much do you sacrifice? Do you sacrifice your own health? Do you sacrifice your own mental capacity and you still got children to care for? Because this person is refusing. Now, see, give me somebody who's willing, right? This person they may even be putting up a fight, right? But because they want better. And they may be at level 0. And I can look and be like, my God, we got a long way to go. But if you want it, I got you. We're going to probably have some rumbling, in the process. But because you want it and you're giving me a little bit to work with each time. But when you're stuck and you refuse, I got to go, right? I'm going to pray for you, truly. And I'm going to keep praying for you because I believe God can change anybody. But if it's to a point where it's now sacrificing my own mental health, it's sacrificing my own happiness, where my children are not being affected because of this relationship that's a dead end, right? And I'm going to be honest now, right? Sometimes you got to leave a fool to really you got to shake them up, right? This is for men and women, even you good guys. Sometimes you have to leave a person because when a person really knows they got you and they know you're not going anywhere, why change? But you shake them up, right? Let's take B and J, for example. I'm just using them, right? I was listening to one of Jay-Z's interview, and he said that that's what happened. Like before, with the threats and things like that, it just kind of fell on deaf ears. But one time they were supposed to be flying to Italy, and I guess she didn't get on the flight. She flew back home, and he was like, that was the first time he ever experienced a live person being dead, meaning his soul was dead. So that shook him up, and that's why he, X, Y, and Z. Sometimes you got to shake a person up. People don't really realize what they got until they miss it for a while. So even if, go to your source first, but I'm just saying, right? I don't believe in sacrificing my sanity after a certain point, but I am a person who've seen great results, godlike results after, oh my God, after some sacrificing and being obedient and even just dying to self for a while. And I can't lie. So I've seen the results. So I'll be a liar if I tell people that it can't be done. It can be done, but it can only be done spiritually. Because remember, grace have to cover you during this period. So if God is telling you it's time to walk away and you're refusing, listen, you got to be careful with that now, because sometimes that grace might be lifted for a minute. So this is why you have to connect to your source. Ask God, show me how. Show me what to do. Show me when. Show me, is it over? Show me if you want me to stick it out. He will give you your answers. But my last question is, why do you feel that it's necessary? Now, let's take marriage out of the equation just for a second. Could there be, and there is, because I know you, I guess, I kind of already got like a cheat sheet, but what is it about you? What seed are you carrying that makes you feel that you have to stay in a situation where you've sacrificed for a very, very long time and is now detriment to your own mental sanity, your own mental health? Your children are seeing certain things. What is it about you that feels like you have to stay with the person? Because it's one thing now if God have just graced you to be the person to help change a person. Because sometimes, listen, you can love somebody back to health. I've done that. You can love people back to God. But that's one scenario. Another scenario is because you came from trauma, because you have seeds, which you do, of abandonment, seeds of rejection, seeds of this and seeds of that, father wounds, all that. Could that be why self-esteem, as beautiful as you are, right? Could that be why you're really staying in such a toxic relationship / marriage? So then that's another thing you ask God. God, does this have anything to do with me? Could this be all about me? Because I have the father wound, because I've been rejected, because I've been abandoned. Am I staying out of fear? Am I staying because I don't know what else exists? Am I staying because I don't want my children to experience a father wound if I leave like I did? But on the flip side, your children are experiencing certain things that will eventually probably can cause their own PTSD, right? That can potentially cause anxiety, because if you have someone in the house who have PTSD, and I don't know this, but there's chances things are getting thrown, like they're freaking out because they're in fight or flight. So that causes anxiety in children. This is why many adults to this day deal with anxieties and panic attacks and don't even realize it. You may have seen some things with children. You may have seen domestic situations where your father beating your mother, or even vice versa. And there's no worse feeling than a child who's helpless. Especially boys, because boys love their mama so much and men are protectors. So to be a 5-year-old child and you can't even defend your mother from your father beating her, first of all, that starts anger issues. So all these different things, the children, we want to quote unquote stay for the children. And we don't even realize at times we are affecting children. And this is why we're struggling as adults with a lot of things too. So to summarize, first and foremost, ask God ask God to show you how to pray for him. Ask God to help you in the spirit to feel what it is he's feeling when he's getting these panic attacks. That way, if you feel it yourself, you will have a better understanding. And most importantly, to know that it's not intentional and it's not about you. The snappiness, the this, the that, the way he talks, that is not about you. I told you before I started my own growth to understanding anxiety, I had to go back and apologize to people a lot. Still do every now and then, because when that rush of emotion comes to you and you're in fight or flight, it has nothing to even do with the person sitting next to you. That's all internal. The people just catch the overflow, but you have to be woman enough or man enough to go back when you're out of that thing to be like, listen, please forgive me, because this had nothing to do with you, etc. Then they can understand better versus taking it personal. Because a lot of that frustration gets built up because the frustration comes from partially because we feel like I'm doing this for you. And first of all, you're a great wife and a great mother. I'm in there to know. So the frustration comes from, it seems like I'm doing this, and that. And you're still not grateful. You still don't say thank you. Instead, you come home, you're throwing things around and all that nonsense. So you're not even recognizing how much I do. Like, you are the epitome of a ride or die. Like, for real, for real. Like, you carry that household. I'm in there. I see it. So sometimes that frustration comes from the fact that, first of all, you think he's not grateful. Maybe because he don't say it. And truth of the matter is, maybe he don't even know how to say it. He may not even know how to say thank you. Right? So when you feel like all of your patience, all of your sacrifice are just falling on deaf ears, that frustration happens. So what happens? This is why women have to be able to tap in, because that frustration gets to a certain point. Once the frustration gets to a certain point, only Jesus can send us back. And Jesus may have a hard time sending. Jesus may have a hard time getting us back up in there. So we got to kind of catch that frustration point early enough. So you may have to go to counseling even by yourself. Even if he don't want to go, don't wait on him, because you might learn some things and understand that you're only sticking in there because of your own father wounds, because of your own issues. So you go to counseling for yourself. And sometimes be the change we want to see. Because if he see you going through counseling and now that you're back in the household and he's seeing it like, okay, she's not as triggered as she used to be. And he see how counseling is being beneficial to your life, then he would want that. So ask God to open his eyes and show him. So I hope this helps us. You know how much I love you. And thank you for trusting me with this topic. And for those of you who may be going through the same thing, she wanted me to address this specifically in case any of you are stuck in marriages and you feel like God is not hearing you. And it's just like you are at the point, like your bags are packed, honey. You're just waiting to walk out. You're waiting for your walking orders. So I hope this helps any of you. And again, first and foremost, go to your source. Go to your source. You guys have a great one. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.